Kodo, you want to kickstart it?
Yeah, I think we're just about there. A couple minutes
Yeah.
past here. All right. Well, hopefully everyone can see my screen, and thank you for joining. Probably like many of you, I am sitting in my home today and watching a webinar, which is something we've probably all done a lot more of over the last month or so. And we're going to tell you about a new feature our new product really that we've launched that I think augments this experience like amazingly and really helps kind of not only drive, but probably redefine a lot of the interaction that you hope to create in your virtual events. So we're talking about LivePolls. We're gonna quick agenda. I'll tell you a little bit about the product, but we're gonna spend a lot of time today just live demoing it. We have a LivePoll tool. We're not gonna show you too many slides about it, but we're actually just gonna get in and show you the product and then take some Q&A at the end. Other important setup thing, this product's entirely free. This isn't a sales pitch today. There's no paywall. There's no paid version of this. So everything you see is here for you to use starting today. So here we go. A little bit about your hosts. Important trivia. Everyone pay attention. We got myself, Erik Kodo. I'm the COO of QuestionPro. And Vivek Bhaskaran, the founder and CEO of QuestionPro, presenting today. So a couple important points about Vivek. Vivek once worked for a now defunct bank, Washington Mutual, in fact. Vivek drives a QuestionPro branded rickshaw. You see it there. It's a pretty hot rod machine. I think it does like 12 miles per hour down a hill. And Vivek speaks 5 languages, not including programming languages. If we include Java and whatnot, it's probably up to 10, but a true polylinguist on the other end. Don't worry, it'll be in English today. Myself, I also once worked for a now defunct bank. In fact, that's how Vivek and I met and started working together. A mutual friend at Washington Mutual introduced us, and that's how I came to QuestionPro, and still here today, many years later. Vivek is the only Indian presenting today, but I am the only one who's been an extra in a major Bollywood film. That's another story for another time, though, that I'd have to tell you. And as you can see, I have 18 bikes in my garage. Why only 18? Because my wife likes to keep her car in there, or it'd be at least 36. I only get half the garage, but you can see them there. So a little bit about us, and keep that in mind. Might come back at a later moment in this presentation. But we're really talking about LivePolls. So what is LivePolls? What are LivePolls? It's a real-time polling tool that we've built for interactive quizzes, polls, trivia, and really audience engagement. What you can see there is we're showing it's really designed around 2 screens. So you've got a presenter screen, which is the big sort of laptop screen shown there, and then the respondent screen, which we really built this as a mobile-first experience for the respondent. You'll answer the questions on the mobile phone, and the answers come back real time on the presenter's screen. This works equally well for respondents using laptops. It's not limited to a mobile experience for the respondent, but that's really how we built this first. Interesting anecdote about why did we build this thing? We already have a polling tool, in fact. We're a global company, as many of you know. We've got 100+ employees in 6 offices around the world. And one of the things we do to stay connected and kind of real as a company is every Thursday morning, we have an all-hands town hall. Everyone shows up online and talk through various new product releases, company direction, company issues, company reporting. And we try to really drive interaction on that call. One of the things that helps us all connect across time zones. We found with some of our existing tools, though, even the survey tools and the polling tools, we could get interaction. We could get people to respond, but we weren't generating a whole bunch of excitement. And so we kind of went into our lab, as we like to do. We're kind of technologists and geeks to begin with, and said, what tool can we build that creates not only interaction, but creates energy and enthusiasm? And so we came up with this, the live polling tool. We're really the first customer. We've been using it ourselves for a few months now, and it's dramatically changed not only the amount of interaction, but the quality and the tenor of the interaction we get on that all-hands company meeting every Friday, every Thursday. So we can tell you from the inside that this thing works. It really helps engage people. And so what makes this product unique is really engagement redefined. Yes, there are other tools out there you can use to get answers during quizzes, during your webinar, or during your class schedules. But what we found here is that we want to create enthusiasm, and we've done that through a combination of accuracy and speed, real-time dashboards and leaderboards, and gamifying the feedback experience. So that's what this application is really about. It's gamifying that experience of providing feedback or answers and creating enthusiasm around it. We will show you what that looks like in real time in just a couple of minutes here, but that's the objective. Also, we've made this very, very easy. There's no apps to download. There are no signups. Your respondents can do this anonymously and very, very quickly. So the overhead on the respondent end, even if you have 1,000+ people on your webinar, is very, very light and fast. Makes it really easy to use. So who's this good for? Enterprises, certainly it started with us. So it's definitely built for enterprises, virtual events, employee programs, town halls and meetings. It's great for that. There's obviously a great fit here because of the quiz and the interaction model for universities and schools. Can use it for classroom learning, for seminars, events. I think there's a great use case for on the academic side here. I know we have a lot of folks here from universities today. So good stuff here if you are in the academic setting. Particularly now, everyone's trying to figure out how do you remotely engage a classroom. I know I have a homeschooled child, and it's tough for teachers right now to keep the energy and enthusiasm. This could be a really cool solution for some people out there. So there are 3 different modes in what we're going to show you. I want to walk through this, set some context. So 3 different ways to play, 3 different ways to use live polls. The first on the left there is just a poll. This is the simplest model. The thing to remember with the poll is there are no wrong answers with the poll. It's just simply providing kind of insight into what your audience thinks. So, and there are a number of tools out there already, in fact, our own polling tool. But this is, again, it's very quick and real time for your audience to provide that feedback. I think where the interaction models and that enthusiasm I talked about really begin to shine is on the quizzes side. That's where you have a set of right and wrong answers, and that's where you see those interactive leaderboards, and you watch the position of people move up and down on those quizzes as they move through. Last but not least, trivia. Think of trivia as like gladiator style quizzes. It's instant elimination. You get a question wrong, you're out. So it's a last person standing model for the quizzes, which is really fun. That's going to be launching very soon. So those are the 3 modes. I'm going to walk you through a couple of salient features here, and then we're going to jump right into a live poll. So I talked a lot about how, or not a lot, but I talked to you about how quick and easy it is for your respondents to set up. All they have to do is go to QuestionPro.io on any browser, a mobile browser, a laptop browser, and punch in a 4-digit code, and they are into your quiz or poll. There's no further setup, no downloads, no email harvesting, no sign up, no logins, no double opt-in, nothing, none of the things you've gotten very used to with using web apps. Very, very quick and fast to get people into this. The Player Hub. This is a good for the savvy marketer. This is a good spot to gather some kind of demographic information on the people in your poll. It usually takes a minute or 2, particularly with larger groups, for everyone to get in to the poll. So let's say you've got 2-3 minutes where you're waiting for people to join. There's a concept of a waiting room here where you can ask some profiling questions. Where are you from? What product are you interested? Anything that you think might be helpful for some analysis on the back end. So we've made that kind of waiting experience interesting and useful as well. In play, so this is where the respondents answer. Very, very quick and fast. Everything happens on the device. It's really seamless. You tap, you go, and the respondent experience, as you all see in a minute when you join our live poll, I think is very, very quick and easy and fun. You get quick feedback on how you've done with the question. There's also a timed element to this. This is very, very important. You only get, in this case, we're showing you a 5-second countdown timer to answer the question. So that's where some of the gamification comes in, a little bit Jeopardy style, buzzer beater to get your answers in. The quiz results. This is, I think, probably the magic here, the most interesting part. As you go through and take the poll, you see your name move up and down this real-time leaderboard on the left. You see who you're next to and who you're competing with. There are two dimensions that we've used here. Not only how accurate are you in answering a question, but how fast can you answer the question? We've all watched Jeopardy. Who's ever quickest on the buzzer tends to dominate in that game. Kind of the same thing here. The quicker you can get your answer in, the further up that leaderboard you're going to move. Of course, you have to get the answer right as well. It's not just about speed. So we use those two dimensions to really gamify the experience and make it fun. And last but not least, this is for the administrator, for most likely all of you on the call. You'll see this, this interactive dashboard on how your respondents are doing. So you get some good technographic information on device usage and what people are using, accuracy rates for different questions, and of course the respondent profile on how they're moving. So on the back end, we have a nice analytics view for you after you've run your quiz and poll that formats the data, does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So that's it. I think this is going to be much more fun to show you guys real time. But yes, I mentioned this already. There's no catch. It's really free. You're not going to hit a paywall. It's I think very serendipitous that we happen to be launching this in the midst of a lot of quarantining. You know, we thought about this many months in advance of COVID, but I think it's a great time and a great place for this product, and we just want to make it free and have people use it. So,
good. I want to jump in really quickly.
Yeah.
Also, another reason we kind of did this was it was a technology upgrade also. So obviously we've been running QuestionPro for a long time, and everything in QuestionPro is kind of frankly like with other apps, it's asynchronous. So somebody send out a survey, somebody else takes a survey at a different point of time. So one of the things that we started actually last year is to build some kind of core technology around synchronous kind of infrastructure effectively. From a very technical viewpoint, this is WebSockets and other things like that, so that we, when we can have 5 or 8 people or 10 people or 100 people or 500 people be connected at the same time, taking the same kind of going through the same experience, or at least the whole premise behind this was build an underlying technology infrastructure that we can do synchronous communication with. And live polling happened to be one of the use cases that we thought we would solve effectively, and so that's why it was coincidental. I mean, it's purely coincidental that everybody is kind of remotely working, and synchronicity is becoming a more important element as we go forward. So that thing, I think I wanted to kind of chime in about the kind of the technology component also, and then live polling happens to be one of the solutions. And now that it's catching on, quite frankly, we are actually investing more resources and energy into that. And that's the reason why we kind of wanted to make it free and be free, frankly, because it was a technology showcase rather than a kind of a conscious kind of business plan around like, hey, we want to get into a particular market or something. As Ben is saying, like, look, have you thought about political polling? No, we've not, to be honest with you. It was originally kind of designed as a technology showcase, and now it is kind of evolving itself into primarily in the academic world and some cases in the enterprises, especially around town halls, and obviously we are a ton more digital meetings than we used to have.
Yep, very true. We are kind of geeks at heart. So there's Vivek speaking a little bit of his 6th language, Java or DevOps. I'm not sure which one, but yeah, definitely a kind of a cool technology challenge that our team got inspired by on making this one. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it and take a live poll. And we're going to put some stakes on this one. So you guys should all join this because whoever is at the top of the leaderboard at the end of our short fun quiz gets a pair of Apple AirPods. So we're playing for real, playing for fun, but playing for real. So Vivek, I'm going to hand it over to you to kick off the poll and showcase what we have.
Yep. All right. I'll start sharing my screen. So I'll answer Scott's question in a minute, but if you go to questionpro.io, Kelly's already there, and type in 3957. And I should see you guys. As you can see my screen, you'll see a screen like this to the right. Punch in those 4 digits, I guess. And you're gonna take a couple of questions. You can just see them, and I can see how everybody coming in effectively. You'll take what Kodo said earlier on about like a profiling question, you'll see the profiling question. We can then track whether you are part of an enterprise or a student or a professor. That is just something that I just made up as we were talking. As you can see on the screen, we have about 23, 24 users. You guys are all coming in. Good. I don't have to explain to you what to do. Reasonably kind of fast and quick. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes. And I'll just, while we're waiting, I'll just answer kind of Scott's question around, hold on, let me see. Let me go to the, okay, one sec. Yeah, so we have about 30 or 40 users. Couple of quick things. We can, you can see the little icon over here. We can see whether, Windows machine or an Apple, which represents an iPhone probably. And then, obviously Android icon should be somewhere here. Actually, most of you guys have Apple machine, Apple phones, I guess. So we have about 36 users. We'll get started. And here's the interesting part. If people come in late, they can join in anytime. This one, I didn't time it. So you guys can start answering the question, which of these is a real service software platform? Obviously, I've been doing this for a long time. Kodo's been doing this for a long time. So we've seen a lot of survey platforms come and go over these many years. Some of them have had great exits. Some of them have kind of gone out of business. So as you can see, you guys are taking the poll, and boom, let's see. Yeah, most of it got it right. Zoomerang is the one. So Zoomerang was acquired by SurveyMonkey. I have competed with them, obviously. Fun fact, obviously Zoomerang at one point sent me a cease and desist letter for some trademark violation because we were putting ads against the word Zoomerang on Google. Random fun fact, you ought to do something interesting. Let's go to the next question. Which of this is not a real statistical analysis? So most of you guys are researchers. You should know this. You should know most of the statistical analysis, and frankly, you should know which one's not. Again, obviously this is tongue-in-cheek. It's fun. Obviously we want to try to make it fun a little bit. So I'll wait for everybody to answer. And let's see, is one more holdout? I think it's 33. Let's see. Let's keep going. All right. Yes, everybody got it right. Well, some people did not get it right. Shade is actually a real statistical analytical model. And TURF is more than TURF. It's total unduplicated research and frequencies. So
I mean, it's true. I've done cluster analysis before, and it has been a total clusterfuck. So I understand if people are confused.
Of course. So here you can see like people have points as an important element in terms of kind of getting people fired up. So you can see most of these guys, the first 9 guys and girls and ladies, I guess, have gotten it right. But as you see, these guys there's a distribution in points. And what does that mean? So we kind of said, getting the question right is obviously important, but getting the question right fast is actually, gets you more points. So if you can think of a curve, the speed at which you respond, you get more points, obviously. So we're obviously not going to tell you is it an exponential curve or is it a linear curve? Clearly, every one of us is now familiar with exponential curves, looking at COVID, but I guess there's some sort of a curve, and that's why we create the spread. So that's why, Will even though Will and Daly, all of these guys have got the questions right, few of them have got the questions, they get more points. So this is a good one. Who predicted the 2012 elections? But they failed miserably, or she failed miserably. I think I gave away a little bit over there. Again, there are a couple of tongue-in-cheek kind of answers here in terms of kind of the items. And let's see. Yep. No, well, Nate Silver is the one who actually correctly predicted 2012. So Nate Silver. Kodo, you want to talk about Nate Silver a little bit?
Yeah, Nate Silver. It was originally a statistician with the New York Times, and of course now runs the 538 blog. He predicted every single state contest correctly in 2012, and then went in to 2016 with a great degree of gravitas in terms of predicting elections, and by his own admission, just missed the boat. Polling errors, sampling errors, and poor conclusions off some of the sampling errors. They've done some really nice postmortems on what went wrong. 538 is very kind of transparent on what went wrong in 2016 with their predictions. So yeah, that is Nate Silver.
All right. Thank you. And then which small university built its brand out of political polling? Every time you've heard of political polling, we kind of talk about this particular university. And they've I think they almost own political polling at this point. And let's see, most of you guys got it in. Yes, it's Quinnipiac, and Judge Mason is there for is in DC, but they don't do, they do a little bit of political polling, but Quinnipiac actually does most, at least built its brand out of, I would argue, although obviously you can argue a little bit back and forth, but I would say like Quinnipiac is the one that, that has nailed it, at least building its brand. And so let's keep going. Which of these is not a source of market research news, by the way? So, so if you're in market research, you probably know at least two of these, and the third one is just kind of bullshit that we made up. So let's take a look. Yeah, no, Newmar is actually a real thing. Most of you guys think Newmar is not. Newmar is run by a guy called Ray Pointer. He runs a blog as well as a podcast and a bunch of other things. Green Book is run by a guy called Lenny Murphy. He again it's part of the American Marketing Association. Research News is a random thing we made up. So that's where we are so far. All right, let's keep going. A little bit more technical right now. What's a double-barreled question? So I love, Kodo actually put this together. I do love this one, a question about gun rights and responsibilities. It's actually pretty funny. And I didn't really notice it first, Kodo, but when I read it, I was like, oh, that's pretty funny, actually.
Answer C. Answer C.
So, yeah, perfect. Most of you guys got it right. Single question that requires two answers, really. So that's what a double-barrel question is.
All right, look at we got Nicole up on top now.
Yeah, she's
coming through. Daly had been there, but we got a leaderboard shakeup.
The OG, I don't know.
The OG is hanging in there. I like it.
So some of these, obviously, as you can know, like we don't have tracking information. So if you want the airport, you'll have to email us the airport, because I don't know who OG is, because everybody thinks that they are the OG, of course. So let's keep going. We'll go back to the thing that Erik earlier said.
Are people paying attention?
How many bikes does he have? So the other thing that Erik and I share in common is our passion for mountain biking. So Erik actually lives in Bend, Oregon, which is amazing for mountain biking. And both of us used to live in Seattle. That's where we met. And so, quote unquote, we have our corporate retreats in Bend,
in Moab or various destinations.
Yes,
all right, pretty good.
Paying attention. There we go.
QuestionPro IO got that one in fast and bumped.
All right.
Oh,
how many languages do I speak? So this gives you an idea of the languages I do speak. Some of them are interesting, and that gives you an idea. During this whole coronavirus thing, I've actually gone back. Obviously, my background is in programming, but I actually got back to programming because I felt that I needed to do something productive while sitting at home. So it's been a fun ride for the last.
Hey Viv, is this a double-barreled question?
Maybe this is a double-barrel. I don't know.
You got a double-barreled question in here.
So that's right. English, Hindi, Tamil. I'm originally from India, but I lived a couple of years in Russia. Then I moved to Provo, Utah, of all places in the States. Lived in Seattle, the Bay Area. I live in Austin right now. All right, so we got everything done. So some interesting stats. Most of you guys have obviously iPhones and not a bunch of Android guys, and you can go down the stats and see this. And so the winner is QuestionPro.io. Like I said, I don't even know who you are. So if you are QuestionPro.io, take a screenshot of your winning screen. You should be in a screen that says you're number one or something like that. And please send me an email. I'll give you my email address right now. Let me see. There are a couple of questions came up that I've not been tracking. So let us kind of jump into the question. A couple of guys couldn't join, I guess. The joining was, just go to QuestionPro.io. Let me just read out a couple of questions. A couple of guys said that it's not working for them. And then we have an enterprise version and we are consultants for other organization. Would we need to be conducting polls in real time for our clients? Is there a way to give them a live link? So, I mean, I guess we've thought quite a bit about it. Do we give out a link or do we just give out a 4-digit code? At this point, I think, the point that we are trying to make is that you got to use the phone, and the other thing that we are kind of like going forward with is the second screen approach. So all of us have typically a laptop and a phone at any point of time. So as you can see, obviously about 30 people were able to join and kind of engage with us. Most of them, as I can see, at least 86% of them use their iPhones to join. So another way to look at the engagement model is like, obviously most people get into webinars with a desktop. I get into webinars with my phone also a lot of times, but more often than not, I go into a webinar with a desktop. And so the idea here is the desktop, you don't want to kind of if you start giving out links on the desktop, you'd probably click on it, which means you're going to get defocused from your Zoom screen to begin with. And so you're competing for attention in the same screen real estate. By giving out a URL and a 4-digit code, our thesis obviously is that you kind of like expand your real estate from the desktop, which is kind of a one-way screen, if you will, right now, where you guys obviously have your Zoom meetings up, and you don't want to use that desktop to do the interaction. You use the phone, that is your second screen, to do the interaction. Okay, Ben Brown. Okay, good. Ben, I think I know you, and so I believe you when you say you are the one. So you're QuestionPro.io. That's all right. You won. We're gonna send you the AirPods. So that's kind of, hopefully that gives you guys an idea of why we're doing it without putting a link. We may change our kind of tack a little bit by just giving, we could easily have said the link to this particular session is QuestionPro.io/3957. Frankly, I think that's also a reasonably kind of doable task, I would argue. Not necessarily very complicated. We could get that done also reasonably quickly and fast. But this gives you an idea from a quizzing perspective. As you can see, it was fairly engaging. Hopefully it was engaging. Obviously the AirPods make it make it fun. But again, it also gives, the way we see it is that it gives all of us a second screen for interaction. And this is going to get very interesting. I'm going to walk you guys through another kind of like, since we have some time, we're going to do a little bit more, one more round of, it's really not a demo. It's more like I'm going to use you guys as guinea pigs for a new idea that we are developing. Apart from polling, we also want to crowdsource ideas and crowdsource feedback where obviously with polls, we have a closed idea of what the question should be, but what if we don't know what the question should be? And go down that path. A couple of more questions came up that, can we set amount of time? What we can do, the way we've set it up, and I'm going to jump right into the app itself. So this is the poll that we just took. You guys can see my screen, obviously. This is you come to the LivePolls section from, after you log in, there's a separate drop-down menu. You can come there. Very similar to our regular surveys. As you can see, you can create a bunch of polls. This is the one that we just did. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. You can create questions, select the ones that are right. If you guys use QuestionPro, this is pretty easily. This is the role that you guys selected. This is a nifty feature we built. We needed it for our own town hall where we said like, okay, we have about 120 people attending our town hall events. We said like, well, what we want to do is to divide people into 5 groups, for example, 5 random groups. And then we can turn this on, which means, in this case, for example, when you got into the URL, you selected who you are. If you created 5 random groups, you can turn this on and the system would automatically drop you into one of those 5 segments effectively. And those are and then obviously the sessions and analytics, you can see how many people came in, what everything has been done effectively. So that's kind of where we are. So let me see if there are a couple other questions. A couple of people said they had difficulty clicking the question. Okay, I think maybe we can work on the UI around the question itself and see if we can kind of, make that better. In general, I think it's designed to be mobile friendly, and maybe some spacing between the questions could be improved. Maybe we'll take a look at that. My screen timeout was a bit of a hassle. Okay, we'll take a look at that. One other thing that we wanted, since we have some time, Kodo, do you have is anything coming up?
No, it just if Farouk would like to provide us more details on what was not working. I think he wanted, and then we'll take that feedback, please. Anyone else who was not able to participate, just send us more details.
Yeah, and so let me kind of like talk one more thing about anonymity. This came up. We did some internal testing with a bunch of universities, and one of the bigger things that came out was anonymity. And say like, look, we in some cases it actually makes sense in some use cases, especially in a classroom setting, especially when classroom. If professors want to be evaluated in real time, they wanted to figure out a way to kind of make this kind of entire flow. It's reasonably anonymous. Obviously, you're not entering an email address and everything else. And what can we do to increase anonymity? So one of the kind of the features that we have in this particular thing, it's in the settings section, and you can turn on anonymity. And what it does is it'll do something like this. So once you turn it on, it'll be the same experience, but we just randomly assign names for everybody. As you can see, it's the black eagle, golden deer, blue lion. So we randomly assign people if as people come in. So you don't get to select your name. So right after you input your 4-digit PIN, you're just assigned a particular combination of color and animal. This kind of obviously increases anonymity. Nobody knows who you are. So in that way, and plus at the same time, if you need to kind of de-anonymize, you cannot de-anonymize. First of all, you don't know who you are. But if you want to self-report yourself, then it is possible. So a couple of other questions have come up. I'll just kind of go through the questions as we're talking about it. How is the PIN assigned? Is this a random number that's random 4-digit is generated when you launch the LivePoll? Exactly. So you're right. So when so you can see over here in my session, I started this session right along with you guys. It's obviously a completed session right now. And then if I can go back, and start a new session effectively right now. As you can see on my screen, if I hit the start button, I'll start a new session. And somebody asked me earlier on about timing. As you can see, in this particular case, I didn't time it actually. I was manually timing it. You can set like a default timeout and say like every 15 seconds, the question's gonna move forward to the next question. So that gives everybody 15 seconds to answer. When we run our town halls, we actually keep it at that 15 second. We go fast, we go boom, boom, boom. If people are getting used to it, then they kind of get used to it really fast after the first time. The next time I do it with you guys, it'll be much easier because you know that you have 15 seconds to answer the question. It really set it up obviously as a configurable element. We can say, 15 seconds or not, could be anything you want effectively. Lori, a couple of questions. I'll just keep going. Lori asked, can you change the colors and the brand? Right now, no. The simple answer is we've kind of like made this thing fairly kind of all these. There's a reason why these colors switch from one color to the other, because they represent different things as you go through the different states. So the short answer, Lori, is like we don't allow to change the colors and everything else. It's kind of by design that those colors are going to be what they are. Mark Miller says he's the winner. Is he QuestionPro.io? Okay, we have two people.
We better get a screenshot of the results.
One of you guys must have a screenshot, so please send us a screenshot. We'll send you the email address that you need to send the screenshot to. How can we sign in this from the beginning? I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think that this was Farouk who said it wasn't working, so
okay.
He might have been having trouble with the PIN or with the URL.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. So Heather asks, how can we administer from the administration side? As you can see, so I've got log into QuestionPro, go to LivePolls, create a poll effectively. First of all, that's pretty straightforward. You'll come to a screen like this. You can add a new poll. You can add a quiz or a poll. A big difference between the quiz and the poll. Quiz obviously has a correct answer. Poll doesn't have correct answer. Typically, polls are used for attitudinal data collection. Do you like me or do you not like me? Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer. But whereas with the quiz, obviously, which is what we did right now, every single question has a true or a false answer realistically. And then once you create a poll or a quiz, you'll come to a screen like this. And then you can add the questions in, set it up, and then you hit the start button. That's it. Once you hit the start poll button, I'll do it right now. It starts a new session. As you can see, a new session got created. It's a new number. You ask your people to, you keep it open like this, and you ask folks to join the poll realistically. And you'll see them joining as people come into QuestionPro.io and type in 6884, you'll see them joining over here. And then you go to the same process that I just did with you guys effectively. Hopefully, Heather, that answers your question about how to actually administer it. Opal says there's a cost for the fourth time. No, no. We're not charging anything for this. Then let's see, do you have a specific mobile versus web? Can you show where the link for the web is? I don't think there's a mobile versus web. I mean, there's a URL and you just type in the number and you just ask people to come in. Cool.
Yeah, just whether you go to the browser on your mobile phone or a browser on your laptop or desktop, it's going to work the exact same way. Just go to QuestionPro.io and type in that code.
Yeah, so this is a good example of somebody just joined this 6884 and I marked it as anonymous. Obviously, I don't know who this person is, so it's labeled as red eagle effectively. So that is kind of what we're doing right now. So I'm just going to close this poll out. And since I have another 10 or 15 minutes, I want to do another experiment with everybody in the room. This is kind of our solution to kind of like, what should we do now that you guys have a feature? Now you guys know what LivePolls is, at least to some extent. Our problem statement is when we don't know what question to ask, when we want to ask an open-ended question, and we want to go through a process. So we've kind of built something, and I want to kind of like use you guys as frankly guinea pigs to see if this thing works, this model works. So I'm going to start a new poll and say this is the live feed one. And then we're going to, oops. Let's see, let's start that. So if you guys can come back onto this, go to QuestionPro.io and come back to this particular, come to this poll. 8284, I'll join it also. The one thing that we do is, if you remember, like you don't have to type in your name the second time. So the first time you come in, you kind of have to type in the name. The second time onwards, you shouldn't have had to type in the name. You'll remember the name. So the experiment that I'm running right now with all of you is like, I want to figure out what's the next feature you want us to build as part of this live polling, live feed concept. That itself, like effectively, I'm kind of like, relaying that back to you. So the whole game plan is to, within the next 10 minutes, I want to kind of figure out which features, what features should I build, and then have you guys vote on each of the features, right? So kind of crowdsource the feature list yourself, effectively in the next 10 minutes. So now that I started, you should see a screen right now that says like, that has an input box on it, obviously, right? That says like, hey, look, I know Steph is typing, Tiffany Wilson is typing right now, and you can type in what do you think we should build because it's not a closed-ended question, effectively. It's like whatever you feel we should build, you can type. And let's say, for example, type in whatever hell you want, type, and then hit that, effectively hit that button over that. So as you can see, people are saying, ability to embed into PowerPoint slides, some better rewards, maybe, customize the live polls. So I can see this coming in as people are typing, really. And then after you type in, you should see, I think the interface is not that great. So let me see. Can you click on that thumbs up button? You should see what everybody else has typed in also. And you click on that thumbs up button and start giving it votes effectively. And then go through that process. Effectively. So you can choose up to 2 or 3 items, and then you can give up to 10 votes to people to do different things. And you can see like we are trying to kind of, so this is a kind of interesting idea Steph put out, ability to add content between each leaderboard and the next quiz question. And these things will kind of go up and down as people are voting, as you can see, these things as people are voting, and I can see how people are still few people are still typing in their responses. About 21 people have actually typed it in, and now they're in the voting phase. And you can go up and down the voting phase, and you look at the top votes, really. So you have teams to complete. PowerPoint embedding is probably kind of up there. And on the fly, and you can, so effectively everybody has the ability to kind of vote on each other's ideas effectively right now. So you have 24 people in theory, who've posted in comments. You have 240 votes effectively. Everybody is kind of like, this gives us at least a kind of a sorted model around what is interesting. And within, like, let's say we started this thing, what about 5 minutes ago, within 10 minutes, we kind of have some level of semblance about which one collectively we all believe that is important. Obviously integrating this with PowerPoint is somehow we got to think about PowerPoint decks and saying that embedding some polling functionality into the PowerPoint deck. And this is also an interesting one that's come up in the past. As we went through the question on the fly, if you could create a question, this is already, in fact, it has come up internally also. Like, okay, I have a really good question between, and right now it would be like, between these two, which one do you want? Obviously, between the PowerPoint and direct fly integration. So they're all up there. Team competition is already there, but that's kind of up there. Okay, so external participants, kind of like validating people coming in effectively, so you don't have random people showing up at your meeting or at your polling and somehow validating that. This is also a good one, ability to add content. So this is another kind of concept, like effectively, I think a couple of people are still typing, but we've gotten most of what we need from this exercise, right? So we know at least from this exercise that these 2 or 3 items are probably pretty important than the rest. So as a product, from our perspective, from a product perspective, this becomes very valuable. So just within 10 minutes, I was able to determine like these 3, I can go back to our product team and say, hey, these 3 items are probably more relevant than the rest of them. And that, and it's not just people's ideas, it's people are voting on each of those ideas, or actually, gives us kind of a secondary data point around how to weight those ideas clearly. And we're doing this in real time, really. The key is we do this in real time. So within one, like I said, within 15 minutes, but even before the end of the hour, right now I know, like, okay, adding polling questions on the fly is probably the most important to this group. Now, whether we do this or not, separate issue, but at least to this group, you can have a clear answer to say, like, yeah, this is probably, if we do this, we'll this is what collectively we've said. So this is another kind of I think another use case, I think, apart from kind of engaging and talking from a closed-ended perspective. Those are concepts for kind of our open-ended, how to determine what we are calling this live feed, I think. We don't have a better name for it, but we just call it live feed. But this, you can use this also. To use a live feed, it's actually pretty straightforward. The same comment. I'm just gonna finish this up. And so you can see, like, we have about 100 votes come in, 27 comments came in the last, 5, 8, 10 minutes effectively. And then the user live feed, I mean, obviously it's same as, when you design in your designer, when you create a question, instead of creating a multiple choice question, you create a live feed question, simple. And then type in the question, really. Type in the open-ended comment that you want. And you really go through the same process that I just did with you guys. So if you have a question around, like, hey, look, what should we do for brown bag? Or what should we do for lunch tomorrow? Or, obviously you don't know the answer. So, one way to think about it is, yes, I know we're going to do A, B, or C, but especially things like open-ended things like, hey, what should we do for brown bag for tomorrow? Or what should be anything that you want your respondents to come up with a solution, rather than you coming up with a solution and having them choose. This mechanism allows the respondents to come up with a solution and then collectively for all of them to choose. So that's about it. Heather says, what does it mean? That is just at the end of the poll. If you want to create your, if you don't have a QuestionPro account, that'll create a QuestionPro account and drop you into LivePolls effectively. So that's about it. Ben says, open source polling poll is like the people report, the highlights, broad consensus. Yeah, probably very similar. Obviously, this is, the live feed concept is also kind of used by, a company that we are fairly closely associated with, which is IdeaScale, which is built around innovation and crowdsourcing ideas for innovation. And the big difference that we are kind of like, at least put forwarding is everything is real time. So, you could run the same session that I just did in terms of like what features we should build and run it for over a period of, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, or you could do it in, quite frankly, 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, I got at least a sense, a temperature within this crew to say like, okay, if the one feature that we have to build next would be and we kind of obviously juxtapose this, which is easy to build and which is not, and what makes sense would be kind of adding some content in between polls, having a mechanism for adding content between polls. PowerPoint integration obviously was up there. And that gives us, it only took us 12 minutes to figure that out. And we think that that's pretty powerful to get, within 12 minutes, we can figure out collectively what we want to do. And everybody kind of has at least some vote into it. And that's how we think about this. Kodo, any other final comments?
We've got, well, going back to our winner, we've got Mark needing an email address. Do you just want to share your email address?
Yeah, I'll just put my email address in there. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so Mark or Ben, we've got 2 claims. We just need a screenshot. And
somebody send me a screenshot it's to that email address, and we will ship you the AirPod. Who's QuestionPro.io? Kodo, I know you talked about it. I didn't think that we would come up with this kind of situation, but clearly we are. So.
Yeah, we can. We'll work on collecting the email address up front. So if you guys do something similar, this won't be an issue. So.
No, Ben, you can see the email address in the chat session. Okay, I'll just post it up here. Okay, 1 second. I'll just post my email address in there. Okay. All right, so that's my email address. So
is it available through Survey Analytics, Vivek?
So I think it's not available on Survey Analytics. We're just launching, at least initially, we're just launching out QuestionPro right now. I'm pretty sure that this thing is only available out for QuestionPro users right now. So
Okay. But Jorge, that's no problem. Just get a QuestionPro account, and it's all free.
You have to get a free QuestionPro account, and it'll be fine. Yeah. So, all right. Good. I think that's about it. Got anything else that has come up? I haven't been.
No, it's been great. I mean, great feedback. Great product development session. We got that done pretty fast. We just saved a big, long, torturous meeting. We know what to build next.
Exactly.
So great stuff. Good feedback, everyone. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And we will see you again next time. All right.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks
for joining and being a sport, playing along with us.
Thanks, guys.
And the key thing, before we part, the key thing, if you guys decide to do some trivia stuff, make sure your trivia is funny. Because Kokoda and I struggle with it a little bit. Because they're like, okay, we can't make random trivia questions because we're not in the business of doing trivia questions. But if you can make the trivia questions funny, I think you get people engaged. That's
it. You got to entertain them. Hopefully we did a little bit, at least. Hopefully we got the right winner too. Send us those screenshots. All you winners.
All you winners.
All right,
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, guys.